everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Lonely Sluts podcast. I'm Claire.
And I'm Sarah.
And this week we're going to be talking about social media etiquette.
Okay, so we're basically going to be talking about what social media we use and how we use it, as well as what's appropriate for social media and messaging on social media, and then also how social media affects your relationships and basically just your life in general. So to start off with, what social media sites do we use? The list for the most popular sites I could think of was there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr, LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube, and Pinterest. So out of those, Claire, which ones do you use?
Oh, I have all of them. I use Facebook like daily because I'm lame. I use Twitter daily. I use Instagram daily. I use Snapchat all the damn time. I have a Tumblr, which I still use. I have a LinkedIn, which I don't remember my password for. But this guy who works for a snow cone truck that I work with through work just added me, and I can't figure out how to log in to add him back. So that's fun. I didn't have a Google Plus until we started this podcast, but now I have a Google Plus, and so do you. I don't know if you know that. Just so we can do.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, we are communicating right now via Google Hangouts, and it takes your Gmail. We have a Google Plus account, just so you separately.
Oh, cool.
We also have one mutually too for our podcast. And YouTube, I have a YouTube. I'm on YouTube daily. I have a Pinterest, which I actually use a lot for work. I'm trying to think if there's any more. I mean, I have accounts on stuff, but that's not really social media, but
yeah.
Or Airbnb. You have profiles on all these things, but they're not I'm not getting on my Airbnb to be like, hey, what are the people doing? And, you know?
Yeah, no, I have most of them. I guess I now have a Google Plus. So I have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr. I don't have a LinkedIn. I guess I'm just not a very professional person, not very forward thinking. I have YouTube through my Gmail or whatever, I guess. I don't know. I honestly don't understand technology. And I watch YouTube. I had one. I remember having one in high school because I would have to upload projects onto it, video projects onto it. So I had one for that purpose, but obviously I am not a YouTuber. I don't frequently make videos to put on YouTube. And I basically now only use it to listen to music and watch Just Between Us, one of my favorite odd couple comedies, advice channels. But other than that, yeah, I don't get on, I guess I get on Facebook daily, but usually it's just to get rid of the notification and then get off.
They send me my memories every day, and I look at those, and I think, wow, I was such an idiot in 2009. Oh, yeah,
that's a cursed function of Facebook. It's you remember when you were 16 and you thought everyone wanted to know that you were thinking about getting a Coke?
Yeah.
And I was yeah, I do remember that. Thanks. Or all of the great photo. For some reason, we were really big into whoever had a MacBook, we would do photo sessions on that MacBook and we'd upload 20, 30 pictures and we're haha, hanging out. And I'm why did we think this was a normal?
Was so cool. It was
okay to do.
Oh my God. At lunch in high school, somebody would bring their camera, not their phone, their camera. It was usually Katie. But somebody would bring their camera and we would just have a whole photo shoot. I just some random Tuesday and it'll come up on my newsfeed. It'll be this day in your memories. I'll be oh cool. I had lunch and I took 70 photos of it.
Yeah, so I try to avoid Facebook also because I feel at this point Facebook has become a bit more of at least in my realm on my Facebook has become kind of the older generation's connection. So it's older family members and things like that. So I usually use it just to connect with family, to see events, local events. I do like it for that reason because I see a lot of things people say that they're interested in and it'll pop up and it'll be oh, did you want to go to this thing on Main Street? Or did you want to go to this book thing or state museum thing? And I was you know what? Yeah, I do. So that's how I'll use that one. Twitter, I get on multiple times a day. Instagram, multiple times a day. Snapchat, multiple times a day. Tumblr, multiple times a day. But usually it's all within rapid succession. So I will check one, immediately exit out, check out, and then so on and so forth. And then that'll take me 5 minutes. and then I'm bored.
Do you know who else has a Twitter and an Instagram? The Lonely
Who?
Sluts podcast has a Twitter and an Instagram. Shout out to our Twitter and our Instagram at The Lonely Sluts.
I genuinely thought you were going to mention someone like super random, like your uncle or something.
My uncle does have a Twitter and Instagram. My Uncle Philip, but not my other uncles. So that's not what I was going to say, but...
Shout out to Uncle Philip.
Shout out to Uncle Philip. I think he might appreciate this podcast. Maybe I'll let him know that we're doing this. Didn't think I was going to shout him out at all, but here we are.
Which one do you check the most frequently? Like, which one would you say you're on all the time?
Snapchat. I'm on, like, I have a snap sitting here right now that I'm resisting opening. It's going to be a boy saying something nice about my glasses because that's the conversation we're having. But other than that, probably Twitter. I'm on a lot of them a lot of the time.
I've started to do less Snapchat. So I'm on Snapchat a little less. It reversed for me. So I was in college, I was on Snapchat a lot. And I was not really on Instagram at all. And I didn't understand how, like, my friends could spend so much time on Instagram. It really confused me because I didn't use the Explore page at all either. And I eventually kind of switched over and I started the Instagram more because I started looking at a bunch of memes and shit on Instagram on the Explore page and keeping up with people better on that. Because Snapchat was frustrating because the messages would disappear.
Oh, I have a lot of things to talk about when it comes to Snapchat messaging. I have so many things to talk about, in fact, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast. Like, people communicating via Snapchat is a whole other podcast. The only reason that I brought it up is because my attention span and memory are so shit that, like, I will send something to a friend, and if they take more than like 20 minutes to respond, then they do, I already forgot what I sent them on Snapchat. And at least on Instagram, I'm like, I can scroll up. I guess now you can save stuff. You can save stuff on Snapchat. Like, they have changed it a little bit.
Yeah, if you like tap it, it turns gray and it saves.
Would you say that you are addicted to social media?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely am. I use it multiple times a day, and it's not that I'm like sitting here like itching being like I gotta check my Instagram like right now, but like if I have my phone in my hand, I'm going to check Instagram and Snapchat and, like, in a rotation. It's not like I can just like have my phone and just not. I'm them, and it's not, I don't think it hinders my life. I think I can put the phone away, but I will say I do get a level of anxiety if I don't have my phone on my person.
I experienced that as well. But to be fair, like, my phone's important not just for social media, but literally like work. Like, I clock in via my phone. I need it for alarms to wake me up for things. I get worried that like an emergency is going to happen and no one's going to be able to contact me.
Yeah, so I don't live with anybody else, and my phone, I think, is kind of on its last legs. And when my phone dies, I'm going to be alone. And I feel so weird about it. I'm like, but I don't have a house phone because it's the year 2019. I'm not going to get a house phone. Why would I do that?
I got so upset when my family, like, speaking of that though, I got really upset when my family got rid of our landline in like high school. We had kept it for a while. Like, we were one of the last people that I knew that had one. And my mom got rid of it one day, and I was so upset.
Well, the thing about the cell phone is it's so much more than just like your house phone. I mean, all of these social media apps are on there too. I never check, like, can you even check Instagram on the computer? I think you can, but you can't.
You can, because I think when my phone was broken recently, I checked it on the computer.
Yeah, but that's not like the norm. I'm not just like, I'm going to get on my laptop and pull up Instagram.
Yeah, no, I would check Facebook and Twitter and Instagram on the computer when my phone wasn't working recently. But I did check it less often because it was way less convenient to do that. And then speaking of people being addicted to social media, though, there was an article that was literally titled, "Is Generation Y Addicted to Social Media?"
Yes, and the answer is yes.
Yeah. Short answer, yes. Generation Y is millennials, if you did not know. And so it basically was looking at It was using the 6 components that determine behavioral addiction that were established by Mark Griffiths in the journal. Like he posted that an article on that in the Journal of Substance Abuse. And those 6 components are salience, mood modification, tolerance, withdrawal, conflict, and relapse. And this study looked at salience, tolerance, withdrawal, conflict, and relapse. They didn't look at mood modification, which is essentially like the subjective experience that people will report as a consequence of engaging in like an activity. So a buzz or a high when you do something, like when you do heroin or something like that, and you experience a high. That's
like
mood modification.
I don't know. I think it's interesting that they didn't study that, because I have definitely been like, oh God, I'm in a bad mood. And so I like post a picture of myself to get like validation. And it works, man. Every time I get a like, I'm like, oh, that sweet, sweet dopamine.
Positive reinforcement. Yeah, so the different ones that they were looking at. So tolerance, that's the process where like increasing amounts of the particular activity are required to achieve the former effects. So people who drink, you will realize if you drink frequently and often enough, you will need more to get to the same effects as when you began drinking for the first time. The other ones are salience, and that's when a particular activity becomes the most important activity in a person's life and kind of dominates their thinking, their feelings, behavior. Withdrawal is the unpleasant feelings, states, and or physical effects which occur when the particular activity is discontinued or suddenly reduced. Conflict, that's conflicts between the addict and those around them, which is an interpersonal conflict, or from within the individual themselves. And that's an inner psychic conflict. And relapse, and that's the tendency for repeated reversions to earlier patterns of the particular activity to recur, and for even the most extreme patterns to be quickly restored. So they were looking at those 5, and they found, basically the end result was that they found Generation Y does 3.5 of those. So they do the salience, tolerance, and then the intrapsychic element of conflict. So that's where the half comes in, just that part, not the interpersonal element of conflict. And then also relapse. So those are the ones that we experience according to this study.
I think that's hella true, especially the salience thing. People take trips just so they're Instagrammable.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like, oh, this would be a cute pic. Like, do it for the gram. I've said none of those things. That's the first time I've ever said that in my life. I have a really lame Instagram presence.
Yeah, I don't post that frequent. Like, I'm on it a lot. I don't post on a lot. It basically found that social media had become the participants' top priority, and they felt they needed more usage of it to feel satisfied. So that was essentially the end result. And I thought that was appropriate for our generation. I don't know if I'd say I'm addicted, but if it's there, I'm going to check it. Like if I have my phone, I'm going to check it. If I have access to it, I'm going to check it. So maybe I am saying I'm addicted to
You're not an addict, except I'm addicted.
Okay, so I thought that it was ironic because the Pew Research Center, just some information on social media use in 2018. And it was talking about, towards the end of it, it was saying that a majority of social media users say it would not be difficult to give up these sites. And I was like, oh, they say that, but research proves that is not true.
I will say that it would be really difficult because I feel like, well, right now, like, I have friends in town. I have a good number of friends in town. But most of my good friends that I've known, like, especially from college, are not in town. And so like I tag them in like stuff. Like one of my good friends, other Sarah, is in China, and we tagged each other on this article about the, I don't know if you've seen this, The Christmas Prince is a terrible Netflix Christmas movie. And then there's another one called The Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding. And
oh yes, I know of these.
And so other Sarah and I were like making jokes. We're like, the next one's going to be The Royal Baby. And guess what? They're making The Royal Baby. But we tagged each other on Facebook about that. And she's in China. And otherwise I wouldn't like talk to her. And it would be very difficult to like have friends. Plus it's become a compulsion at this point. Like I just gotta scroll
Yeah, no, I thought it was so funny because it said that like 59% of social media users think it would not be hard to give up social media, with 29% indicating that it wouldn't be hard at all. They're like, oh, easy peasy.
I
And
call BS.
I'm like, who are you people? I mean, I guess like I do know some people who really aren't on social media all that frequently, but just thought that that was weird. So another thing that I wanted to discuss with relating to social media was what are our privacy settings for different social media and what are our reasons behind the privacy settings?
Oh God, I don't even know. So I guess I'll go down the list. Facebook, I think I have it on friends of friends, but I don't really remember.
That's an option?
Yeah. So like not everybody can see it, but like your friends and people who are friends with your friends can see your stuff.
I don't think I've looked at the privacy settings since like I started it and I've just left it on like the normal private.
No, I put friends of friends because I was like a 14-year-old was like thinking about dating prospects. And I was like, I don't want to date any of my friends, but maybe they'll have friends who want to date me and they can look at my stuff to see me. And yeah, that's literally where my head was at when I made my Facebook. I guess I was 13 when I made my Facebook, so that was some forward thinking.
Yeah, that was really forward thinking. I was not that smart.
Well, it has not worked out for me, so nobody on Facebook has asked me out. And if they did, I don't think I would go out. So don't ask me out on Facebook.
I still had MySpace into high school, and
I never had MySpace.
I had MySpace, and I had a live journal, and it took me a long time to get onto Facebook. I was probably about I was about 15. I say a long time. But I was probably like 14, 15. Like 14, 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have friends of friends on
friends
Facebook.
of friends on Facebook. I think my Twitter is entirely public. My Instagram is not on. It's public. There's only public and private on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's on public. I should make it on private because then you have to follow me and I'll get more followers. My Snapchat, I don't understand. I recently was fiddling with the settings on Snapchat because there's certain fellas who I don't want to see my content / I don't want to see their content. So I played with that a little bit recently. And I think I accidentally, I know I accidentally did this and I don't really know how to undo it because I'm old. I've made it so that my stories are public so that anybody can view them. And so I guess I'm public on Snapchat, which I want to talk about the repercussions of that in a second. But I guess I could figure out. I could like Google how to fix it, but it hasn't really bothered me that much. My LinkedIn, I guess, is public. I don't know. Can you be private on LinkedIn? What's the point?
I think you can. I think it just hides. I mean, I guess that's how it is for literally every site. I was like, it just hides information about you.
Why would you be private on LinkedIn? Isn't the whole point so people can check you out and be like, oh yeah, this person and their job qualifications?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even have it, so I don't feel,
Yeah, qualified
to comment on it.
I don't know my password, so I can't get in there. Yeah, and then I think, I don't know, Google Plus I literally only have so we can do this. YouTube's public, and then Pinterest is public, I think. Actually, I have a private board on Pinterest, and it's birthday present ideas.
Oh, that's smart. Smart. My Facebook is on private, so I think it's just friends only. So you have to like add me to see stuff about me. Twitter and Instagram, I had them. So they were public. When I was applying to things, I put them onto private. And then when I realized I got rejected from all those things, I put them back onto public.
All right.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, it doesn't even matter. Snapchat. So I think only people who I am friends with can send me snaps, but I think my stories anyone can see.
I think that's what it is for me too, but I'm just not sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really mind because I'm not putting any, crazy I don't really post Snap stories anymore. I kind of transitioned over Insta stories. So I don't really mind them being public because usually it's just like something I thought was funny or a dog or some random thing. And so I don't mind if, anyone can see that. But I do mind who sends me snaps because I don't want creepy, random, unsolicited snaps.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't want
Yeah,
those.
so that's safe. Tumblr, anyone can see it. Yeah, I don't know. You just have to find me on there. And
yeah, it's a challenge. Find Sarah's.
oh no, please don't. It's not even, I honestly don't even care. It's not even that I have super crazy stuff on there. I just think that I'm obnoxious as a person. So I don't think anyone else would want to see it. And yeah, and then basically use or have any of the other ones. So they don't really matter to me. Do you have any particular reasons for having them open? Do you
No.
care either way? Yeah.
No, I don't care. I like my Twitter I like my Twitter public so that people can retweet me.
I find that so frustrating is if a friend tweets something I think is super funny or very relatable or just, an important news comment or something, anything, and I'll try and retweet it and it's like, no, grayed out.
You just take a screenshot and then just
You're like, ha, I don't care about your own personal. Yeah. Yeah, so that's frustrating sometimes, but that's very minor problems in my life. Now we can talk about what is appropriate social media etiquette.
Ooh, let's go.
Something we both of us thought was interesting was, when do you add a new friend / potential romantic partner on social media? Do you do it right in front of them in the moment?
Do you want to know, historically when that happens, or do you want to know what I think should happen?
Both.
Historically, in recent endeavors, we have added each other the next morning together. Comparatively been like, oh, is this you? Yeah, cool. Because you're friends at that point, right? Yeah, but I think, oh god, it just so depends on how you met too. So if they're your friend, if this is a new legitimate we're just gonna be friends situation, you can add them right then and there. You don't have to play anything cool. You can just be like, oh, cool, yeah, let me add you so we can find each other later. And if you're mutually interested in being friends, that's not weird and it should be fine. And then you look them up and be like, oh, is this your Instagram? And they're like, yeah. And then you like their first picture or something like that because, friends. But if it's a romantic partner, that adds so much more games to everything, which I hate, but I live in the world, so I participate. So if you met them if you met them in real life, the same rule can apply unless you're trying to play it cool or some shit, which is stupid. And then you wait it out. And then I hate myself for thinking about this, but if I add somebody on Instagram, they need to add me on Facebook or you know what I mean? I'm not going to reach out on both social media.
You're not going to seek them out.
Yeah. I'll add them on one and then if they but also let's be real. I will have preliminarily stalked them for so many times until they come up in my you should add this person. And I kind of do that in hopes that the algorithm will suggest me as someone for them to add.
Yeah, that just for that particularly, the Eurocart guy, he showed up. He showed up as a suggested friend.
Dude, it says, okay, I almost screenshot this, but we'll talk about it here instead in front of everybody. On my Facebook, he came up as people I should add, and it said I had 2 mutual friends. And I'm like, who the fuck knows this guy? And I pulled it up. Yeah, and you're friends with him. And I was like, what?
Yeah, and it's because I don't use Facebook. I don't really care.
You should care. He's a weirdie.
And I know, I was gonna say, and I know who he is, so it's not like it's a complete stranger. I don't accept complete strangers.
Contact you.
Yeah, I mean, he has it.
Backstory is it was the end of the night. We were in line for, food at the Eurocart. We met these 2 gentlemen. I bought my food, and then Sarah bought her food and their food.
That goes into me being way too generous while intoxicated.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story. And then we left. We got in our Uber really quickly, and we're like, bye. And now she's Facebook friends.
Yeah, and he just because we had looked them up the next day on Facebook.
Yeah, we did look them up the next day.
Like that was kind of the end of it. We were just like, oh, those are them. But I just thought it was hilarious because
did he add you or did you add him?
He added me. So and it was recently, which
he
was confusing.
should because you bought his food.
He kept coming up in my suggested friends like every single time, and I was like, that's weird. And then very recently, he just added me on there, and I was just like, okay. And then he also followed me on Instagram, I will say. But
so tell him about this podcast and let him know that he's got a shout out in the social media etiquette one.
Hey, Venmo me $10, dude.
yeah. That was an expensive endeavor for you for what reward? Hopefully he'll like your pictures.
$30. Yeah.
$10 for a like.
I will say on adding people right then and there, I used to be, for some reason, I can't entirely explain why, but I used to be a little bit more bitter about it before I was on social media so much. And I think it's because I thought that they were doing it to have more followers or like just to like I don't know, something like that. Like they'd be like, oh, like you have to follow me on like Instagram and Snapchat and like Twitter and all this stuff. Like we have to follow each other. And I'd be like, no, like we really don't have to follow each other. Like that's not the, like if we numbers, like that's how I'll keep in touch with you. Like it used to frustrate me a lot more when I was younger. Now I don't really care so much because I too am also on these sites a lot. So I've become one of those people a little bit, but it used to frustrate me.
I would rather somebody I meet in a bar, like girl or guy, like friend or like romantic interest, I would rather add them on Instagram than Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to reach out, you can like swipe up on a story or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know what, there was like a period of time where I had just so many random people on Snapchat and I was like, who are these people? And I feel like I don't know if it's I'm on Snapchat more or I feel like it's a little bit more personal because you have to kind of direct message. There's not like a public interface. Does that make any sense? Where I feel like Snapchat should be people that I like know and would talk to. Whereas I feel like Snapchat is a little more intimate than Instagram, I guess, is where I'm going with that. And I just don't want a bunch of random people's stories. I guess it's because I view Snapchat stories more frequently than I do Insta stories. Or I used to. Now I'm kind of switching to Instagram because everybody's on Instagram and I'm behind the times.
Yeah, no, I definitely keep in touch with friends that I'm not as close to or kind of like more tangentially related to, like friends of friends a little bit more on Instagram because it is so much easier just to kind of like swipe up, do one of those quick reactions or swipe up and just say something really quick than it is on Snapchat where you kind of have to be a little bit more deliberate about it. Yeah, and that kind of goes into, there was this guy when I was doing some research for this, his name is Vincent Miller, and he's posted a couple,
I was like
he's done some.
Call this guy out?
I mean, like he's a researcher. He's like posted articles and things. Like I keep saying posted. That's how much I'm into social media. He published. He's published articles.
Journal articles.
He's posted some articles, but he published articles on like this concept of like phatic culture. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Phatic culture, which is basically just it's kind of like exchanging social pleasantries. So it's communication that is for maintaining connection and for social and it like social relationships. And it's not about really having a dialogue driven conversation or anything like that. And so it kind of like it frustrated me a little bit because he was like, this is going to cause us to go into like a nihilistic culture where we kind of lose meaning of things. He's like, it's good to have social conversation, and like that part was a little frustrating because it felt a little condescending. But at the same time, I can see it a little bit because with Insta stories in particular, I will literally just send an emoji and then someone will like the message and nothing has really been communicated except for us saying that we're like,
I like that. That's an acknowledgement of like, I see what you're doing and I like what you're doing. I don't really have anything to add, but I appreciate you and your content. And I think that makes me feel seen and validated. And I don't agree.
That's what he was saying was that he was like, it's important to have to a degree because we need to have like connectedness, we need to have social relationships, and that is basically the type of communication that will foster that. But he was like, at the same time, so he was like, if it becomes increasingly phatic, then we're gonna lose like dialogue and like have more content and like, I don't know. he's going to listen to this and get so mad. He's not going to listen to this.
Vincent, listen up.
Everyone send this to him. No, but I probably am like fudging up his message a little bit, but I feel like that was kind of what he was talking about, like that function of communication. But I don't know. I can see it with specifically in stories and like how you can so quickly and like not really have a lot of content driven conversations through it. I don't know.
I mean, like, I think that's true, but I also have built friendships through that. Like, okay, there'll be people, I'll be like at a party and I will meet a girl and I think she's cool, but we don't like have a reason to talk to each other, but we'll add each other on Instagram. And then I'll see her doing something fun and then I'll swipe up and say something and she'll say something back and we say really nice things to each other on Instagram. And then I see her out in the world and we're like, oh my God, hey. And then we're friends now because we've got a mutual like liking kind of deal. So I don't know. I mean, like, I get it, but I think he's being negative. I think you gotta give.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely think it was kind of pessimistic. I mean, like, I feel like it had some valid points, but at the same time was very cynical of like social media, basically.
Okay, so when do you, going back to this question, when do you think it's appropriate to add a romantic partner?
A romantic partner?
Not like somebody you're like deliberately involved with, but like a potential.
But potential,
yeah, somebody
okay.
You're like interested in.
I don't like doing it in front of them for some reason. Like, I don't like doing it in person because I feel potential partner, I just want to be talking to them. And I feel like as soon as I bring up my phone or like we start talking about like and all of that stuff, I don't know. I don't want to, it sullies our conversation. I don't know. And I think I want to have the choice. Like, I want to be able to choose whether I let them follow me or like I let them know about certain forms of social media. Like, if some guy were to be like, what's your Tumblr? I'd be like,
I would be like, what's a Tumblr? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I see it on your phone and be like, no.
It's stupid, but it also makes me feel like they're thinking about me when I'm not there if they add me later. Or if I add them later, it's kind of like showing that I'm like thinking about them or like I'm like, yeah, I do want to keep in touch. If I like it's a day or two later, we're not together and then I add you, if that makes any sense. So I think
real good when like somebody adds you and you're like, yes, like, yeah, I wanted them to want to see my stuff. Good.
So that's, I think later is my optimal time for adding someone.
Okay, well, I will say, how late is too late? Because I have a story.
How late is too late? 2 years.
Yeah, let's talk about this. This lovely guy who, oh God, I don't even have we'll call him Purple Rain. The reason being is one time I thought we were just dancing and the song's Purple Rain, but he thought we fell in love. And
he was having a moment. He was having a whole moment.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I thought it was like super cash. Anyway, we went on one date, Purple Rain and I, and he was like fine, but I wasn't feeling it, and he was like already way too gung ho about it. Like, I told him I was going home the next weekend. This was in Columbia, and he was like, "Oh, I have family in Charleston. Maybe I'll come down." And I was like, "Haha, no, I have plans." What? And then he like asked me out for the next day, which I also had planned. I'm just super busy, but I like wasn't lying about any of these plans. Like, I had plans, but he asked me out for the next day, and I was like, I can't do that. And then he like, I don't know, and like I went home, and I was like, that was like okay. I was like overthinking it. And he texted me, and he was like, "Hey, I had a really great time tonight. I haven't felt this way in a really long time." And that made me start sweating. And so I texted him back and I was like, "Hey, I think you're a great guy, but I think you're looking for something way more serious than I am right now. And I just don't think this is I don't think we should like go out again." Which was how I felt. 'Cause like I was in a weird mental spot at that point in my life. And he was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, yeah, pretty sure. And then and he was like, "Well, text me if you change your mind." I never changed my mind. Like, I wasn't feeling him in the first place. And I, like, didn't ever contact him again. And then this was like in the winter. And then that summer he texted me and I answered because I was like, that's weird. And he was like, "I'm staring at your twin right now." And I was like, "Where are you?" He was like, "I'm at a strip club." And I got offended because it was like 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I am not a 7 p.m. Tuesday night stripper. That felt
That was like a left-handed compliment.
And I was like, well, as long as she's good at her job. And, like, I left it at that because I was like, I don't know what you want. And then he was like, are you still in Columbia? And I was like, no. And then I didn't answer him. But okay, so that happened, and then he added me on Snapchat. I don't remember when on the timeline this was, but this was like post that weird interaction. He added me on Snapchat, and I didn't add him back. Mind you, now that my stories are public, he views my stories, and I'm like, why? We went on one day 2 years ago. So that happened, and then he added me on Facebook at some point, and I didn't add him back. And this was like 2 years ago. Like, this was going on like maybe 6 months to like 8 months after we went out. He was adding things, and I didn't add him back because I was like, I don't want to be your friend. I don't know you. Now you're being weird. But then, like 2 weeks ago, he follows me on Twitter. He follows me on Twitter, and I look at who he's following, and he's following like 15 people total. Like 13 people are verified celebrity accounts. Like, one of them is a guy who's following him back. Like, it's another guy who's not verified. And then the other person is me. And I'm like,
oh, that's so weird. It's so weird.
Like, I'm like, what? And I didn't follow him back because I don't want to know what he's doing. But I feel like blocking him would be a little extra. But like, I don't know. I'm a little weirded out. Like, is he find me? I don't know. I just don't know. Also, he has a Rick and Morty profile picture.
The tone in which you said that conveys everything you say about that.
And I'm like, like, I'm glad we didn't go out again. But like, that poor boy, like, what? Why is
See, this is another thing about etiquette, though, about being like having, or at least I feel like for women, having to feel the need to be polite about it. Like, no, we should be able to block people who kind of creep us out. Like, this dude, like, just one of those things is weird enough. But the fact that he's done all of those things, that's definitely breaking some conventional rules there.
But he just feels like, yikes. I don't even know. Like, I mean, I know I'm great, but like, not that great. Like, you know, that's a lot. Like,
That's just weird.
Well,
that's
also, like,
where I'm gonna put that.
Fucking
just
hint.
weird.
Like, I didn't add you back on anything else. Why do you think 2 years later that he would be like, oh, this is appropriate? I'll follow her on Twitter now. And I almost tweeted about it, which would have been like really funny. I'm like,
I think you should. I think you should be like, throwback to when this guy, you should, in parentheses, put his handle.
They should tag him. Purple Rain. Anyway. Okay, so that brings me to another weird thing about who not this guy, but another guy I only went on one date with. I mostly only go on one date with guys. This guy, his name is Dragon Boy, and we'll talk about him later on a future episode, I'm sure. I don't want to get into it right now. But Dragon Boy, I went on one very bad date with, did not go on a second date with him. He didn't realize it was a bad date, which made me feel sad for him. But,
that's the worst.
Yeah.
Like, at least sometimes you can both tell that there's no chemistry or that, like, something's awkward or weird. But sometimes they're like, that went great. And you're like, oh, you thought that? Because I didn't feel that.
Oh, it was so awkward for me. I was, like, physically uncomfortable. But I was like, I really wanted to see the movie. Anyway, we'll talk about this later. But, yeah, so Dragon Boy. Well, his nickname is Dragon Boy, so, like, that's all I need, you know? But he added me on LinkedIn, like, a year after. Like, first off, a year after. What are you doing? But he added me on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, are we, like, colleagues now? Do you need, like, a reference? Like, what because, like, I don't even know if I'd be the person to go to for a reference. I told you I didn't want a second date. Why would you add somebody who told you they didn't want a second date on LinkedIn?
I don't know. Maybe they just need numbers.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know how LinkedIn works. I don't know if I've communicated this enough. I do not understand LinkedIn. I do not have one.
It's supposed to be like a publicly accessible resume and an avenue to like get in contact with other people in fields that they want to work in, or like look at job postings, or like just make business connections. And like, I'm not gonna hire you, my guy. Like that's like I don't know. I just thought that was real odd. The way I did meet him was we were in class together. So, like, we had the same major, I guess, I think. So, like, maybe that's why?
You're thinking?
Yeah, but I was like, we live in different places. You're involved in different stuff than I am. I don't know why you added me on LinkedIn. Because it's not like I update that, you know? It's not like you can get a good insight on my
Yeah,
life.
you don't even have the password.
Yeah, I think he and I are Facebook friends too. So he can see what I'm up to.
That's
I know
weird.
I know we're Facebook friends because he messaged me like a year later and asked me out again, and I was like, no.
Yeah, a couple times I just like people messaging you like later. I guess it's like not super weird because I do know people.
Oh, it is weird.
But like, yeah, like in high school, like I know people in college and like we'd be friends or we'd be like friend of friends. Like we definitely knew each other, had met in person, all this stuff. But we weren't super close, and they'll like sometimes I'll get messages from these people and either they're just like a hey, or they'll be like, hey, what are you up to? Or like, how's the past like 2 years of your life been? And I'm like, I guess like part of me is like, oh, that's kind of nice that they want to keep in touch. But then the other part of me is like, why? Like,
Yeah.
I do
What's
not
your motive?
know you well. We weren't super close. Like, what's happening here? So yeah, I don't know. That always confuses me. But speaking of some more social media etiquette, do you let your family follow you on accounts? And also, how about coworkers? Because I have mixed feelings on both of
No.
those.
So my family has me on Facebook, obviously. That's the family-friendly one. My mother is on all of my social media. She follows me on everything, but my mom's chill for the most part.
I was gonna say, my mom follows me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. She doesn't follow like my Tumblr because she doesn't have one. And she watches all my stories. She's seen like my drunken stories. She's seen like everything.
Yeah,
my mom knows a lot about my life.
We went on a trip, and Kayla, and Kayla blocked my mother on her Snapchat when we went to New Orleans, just so she like couldn't see the story. And I'm like, my mother has probably gone way harder than we're gonna go or ever will, to be honest, because I'm pretty lame. I'm pretty grandma. Mom, I think, had a good time. Has a good time. My mother right now is on a spring break trip. She and her friend went to Florida, and I'm like, oh, have fun. She's Snapchatting me.
My mom's at work right now.
Well, that's her spot. My mom's in Florida with her friend, Snapchatting me from like St. Augustine. She's like Cape Canaveral. I'm like, okay, have fun. I'll be at work.
My mom, I will say, like, my mom herself isn't super, I was going to say, isn't super fun, but no, she, I love my mom. It sounded like a diss. I didn't mean to. I just mean that because she, like, works at a hospital and, like, I don't know. And then, like, on the weekends, my dad comes home and they hang out. Like, that's their time to hang out. She just doesn't have a whole lot to go on trips and stuff like that. So, yeah, I say that. She just got back from Orlando with my dad.
LOL, all our moms in Florida.
Yeah, all of our moms just go to Florida.
All of them. All of our mini mothers.
A lot of my close moms feel like I call them like second mom. So, and they're honestly like, they probably follow me. Like I have a lot of them on Facebook and a lot of them on like different things
Kayla's
too.
mom has me on Snapchat too, so she can come too. I don't put that much trouble on Snapchat.
Yeah, I will say the most random or like it's not even scandalous. It was just showing that I was incredibly drunk. But you know, the night that we all died for Abby's birthday.
Oh, sure do.
Yeah, we will probably get the episode later. But we all just got incredibly drunk for one of our mutual friends' birthdays. And
not worth it.
I posted, not worth it. But oh, sorry, Abby, you were not worth the trouble.
Abby throwing up the next. I have regrets.
I posted a Snap story while incredibly drunk, and it was just kind of like me like circling through all of our friends, and it had an incredibly random, unrelated like geotag on it. And then I also started typing a sentence and stopped mid-sentence, and I was like, "We're at," and that was it. That was the only thing that I posted.
Have some that I didn't post. Like I was on my way to posting. They're like selfies. And there's like definitely some that was gonna say something, but I can't quite decipher what I meant. And like I never posted them, but I have like at least 3 of those like saved to my like camera roll. And I'm like, what was happening here? And it's not like I don't remember those nights. Like I know exactly where I was and what I was doing, and like I know, but I'm like, what was I gonna
like what was the intent?
Yeah, like I don't really interesting. But Yeah, I don't like really post any. The only thing I posted that got me into not trouble but confused them was not the first time we got engaged, but the second time we got engaged. I just put a picture of my ring, your ring, on my finger, and I just put it up with just the hearts filter and no words. And I got like so many people messaging me being like, "Who's engaged? What happened?" And I'm like, "It's just." I took it down at like after I got like 6 messages. I was like, this is not worth it. It was funny to me, but the people think that something's happening.
Yeah, we should preface that with I have a diamond ring by myself because I wanted one. And I wear it on my right hand, obviously, because I'm not engaged. And I will occasionally propose to Claire when we are out and give it to her to wear hand. And we'll take pictures. And yeah, so that's where that story comes from. But
Side note, Sarah, I just bought myself a ring. It's not diamond, it's sapphire. It's my birthstone. But it's getting shipped to me soon, and then I can propose to you.
That'll be so sweet. Reciprocated love. I will say the one time I've ever gotten, like, quote, in trouble for something that I've posted, I kind of got into a little bit of trouble. And it's not even trouble. It's just kind of like hurt feelings. I've been going to West Virginia a lot to see family recently. But I have like 2 sides of my family are in when I've mainly been visiting like one side kind of. And I've been posting stuff about driving up there and like seeing family. And my aunt from the other side follows me, and she had like messaged my mom and was like, "Oh, has she been in West Virginia? Like, what's she doing? Like, why should she like come to see us?" Basically. And I was kind of like, "Oh, I feel bad now. That was on me."
Okay, so let's talk about people watching your stories. Do you pay attention to who sees your stories?
Oh, yes, I do. I will say that's actually probably the thing that I'm most honed in on with regards to social media.
Do you post stories deliberately for certain people to see?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Same. I hate myself for it.
Oh, yeah, it's something that I want to stop doing. In general, in a perfect world, I would love to stop posting on social media except for I guess updates and stuff or I don't know, I would love to stop being on social media at all.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. If I didn't care who viewed my story, I would never post a story. Ever. I put stuff up and then I'm looking through it. I'm like, who saw this? Because there are certain individuals who I want to know if they're still keeping tabs on football. And yeah, and I care about it a lot.
I will post. So the main reasons I post Insta stories, or I guess Snap stories, wherever you can have stories, validation. I think that I thought of something funny. I found something funny. I want to show other people the funny thing and have them think that I'm funny, or just so everyone can be involved in the funny thing, or just because I want to see who's going to view it. I want to post. Not even, I don't want to say spitefully, but I'll do stuff just to be I'm having a great time. Oh, yeah. Are you going to see that I'm having a great time? I want you specifically to see that I'm having a great time.
Yeah, no, okay, so I will
Which is very frustrating. I hate that aspect about myself, but...
I have definitely posted snaps with the intent of getting an individual to see it and think about it, and they have worked. Okay, t-shirt. If you didn't listen to the last episode about Just Friends, you're not going to know these nicknames. T-shirt, football, etc. So go back and listen to that one and you'll get the backstory on some of them. But t-shirt.
I will say, pick me up though, because we only do descriptors like that for people we may have been talking to or in a relationship with or something like that. Our casual friends, we're name dropping them like crazy. We're oh yeah, Abby, Kayla.
It's fine.
Tyler. Okay. Oh, it's fine. And then we're oh no, t-shirt.
The nicknames are to protect the guilty, okay?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, appropriate, yeah.
I'm not going to talk shit about you with your name. I'm not a terrible person, but I do want to talk shit about you because that's what this podcast is for.
It's about.
I exclusively made this podcast to talk shit pretty much just about t-shirt. No, just kidding. That's aggressive.
I just like to talk about anything and want to be heard.
Same. I was being dramatic. But t-shirt, yeah. I was like, I look real good tonight. I'm going to post this and he's going to look at it. And then he messaged me. You were there. I got into a fight with him over Snapchat messages in the middle of the night because I'm a mature and responsible adult.
I really wanted to be there for you. You were like shaking with rage.
That happens to me.
And I was so tired. And I was like listening and closing my eyes.
Anyway, the point is I posted a picture of us looking real good deliberately for him to see, and he saw it and he messaged me, and I did not respond well. He was like, "You look good." And I was like, what's your problem? Like, I don't remember what I said, but it was like very aggressive and like unsolicited. Like, he definitely sent a compliment, and I was like, "Why'd you ghost me for 3 months?" I was like, not cool, but it was like, 3 a.m.
Actually, very, very recently started posting like pictures of myself as stories.
You put one up today and you looked good.
I know. That was the first time, that was the first time I can remember putting my face. You know what? I lied. When I complained about a patient at work saying something to me about how I should smile more, I posted my face, but this is the first time I posted my face on Insta story in like a really, really I think ever maybe. I don't usually do pictures of like my own like selfies and stuff. But I've just started doing that, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I like it. You look good. I will post my face, but I also have to have other people in the picture. Otherwise I get really self-conscious.
Yes. See, I think that was what made it so hard to post that today. I wanted to like make a joke or like make a comment about my hair, and also it looked nice. So I wanted to post it, but then I was like, oh, but like, I don't really have a reason. And I was like, I don't really need a reason. I can just post it.
I posted, what is it? Not a boomerang. I guess it's a boomerang. A gif of myself, when I got my haircut too.
Mm-hmm.
You get a haircut, you're allowed one self-promotional post. That's the rule.
I know. I keep posting under the guise of these Insta rules that I created. Like when you order a shirt and it fits, you're allowed to post a mirror selfie. When you get a haircut and your hair looks good, you're allowed to post a selfie.
When you have something that you've specifically gotten done to your appearance, you're allowed to let the people know, even if that is just buying a new shirt. But your hair looked so good today. I got joy from viewing that photo, so it was worth it.
I'm glad that I brought you joy. Speaking watching stories and stuff, what do you think about people who watch your stories, specifically on Instagram, I should say, because we both have people who watch our stories on Snapchat because it's just open to anybody, but who watch your stories, but they don't follow you?
I gotta say, I don't really encounter that. Well, first off, I have yet to fully make the transition to Instagram stories over Snapchat stories because I'm still living in the year 2013. And I don't have very many people on Instagram ever view my story who don't follow me. Ever.
There's just a couple, there's one or two that have viewed my stories, and it's been frequently enough now that I'm like, if you're gonna view all these stories, you might as well just follow me. I feel like it'd make it easier on you to see when I update if you actually want to see them. But I don't know. And I just think it's in my head, it's kind of like they're searching for my name.
They have to. If they're not following you, they have to look you up. So that's really weird that they're looking you up with that much regularity.
And I don't think, I'm not so conceited to think that they're oh, it's just me and they super want to see my stories, but I'm just more confused. I feel like it just make it easier on them if they just follow me. I know them. There's a couple of people that I know, and I'm like, why don't you just follow me? Weird. Is this some weird power trip? I think I'm thinking way too much into it, but it just confuses me.
I always read too much into people, and I know, okay, I tap through story. I see everyone's story, but I don't love everyone's story. But my name still pops up as in I've seen your story,
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody who sees my story, I'm they all watched it, they all know, and that's not true, and I know it's not true, but I read too much into it anyway. But I think it's definitely weird.
Oh yeah, no, I think I try and think of it of how I do it. Like you were saying, there's a couple that because on Instagram, it just goes, at least on Snapchat now, it'll ask you, do you, you'll finish a story and then it'll do you want to continue on the story? And on Instagram, it just goes right on through. And I remember once I just wanted to watch this one like person story or something, and I clicked on it, and then I went to the kitchen to like do something, and I came back and it had gone through like 16 different people's, and I was like, oh, that was a mistake. I don't know. I feel bad because I don't really view a whole lot of other people's stories very often, but I expect everyone to view mine. So I'm not very kind in reciprocating viewing people's stories, but think important enough that they should all be mine. But
Yeah,
you know,
it's like, no, I'm funny. Like, look at my
Okay, so relating to our own social media presence, so when I was looking up some things for this particular episode, there were some talks in the industry about impression management. So basically kind of, it's the process by which people kind of try to influence the perceptions of other people. So posting things to kind of put out an identity that you want other people to see. And so I was going to talk about how we may do that, or how you do that and I do that differently, or think about it at all. I'm sure we both do.
Sure, yeah, no, I definitely think about it.
And then in a particular article from Psychology Today, it was talking about trying to balance the things you post and controlling your image so much versus trying to be like authentic and trying to be your true self, really modifying everything that you post. So what do you think about that?
So I definitely think about how I look and what I post. I spend an embarrassing amount of time looking at my own profiles as if I were someone to add me to just see like what I come across as.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I don't really modify anything after I do that. I just kind of think of like what my impression would be. But it's different across different social medias. For like Snapchat, don't care. Like it's gone. It's ephemeral, and it my Facebook is definitely like, I have people from church on my Facebook. I have people from work on my Facebook. I definitely try to keep things a little bit more PG. I try to keep things a little bit more smiley. Like, I'm in a good mood, and I like to bake on Facebook, which is true in most of my life, but that's like the kind of articles I'm sharing is like music and baking and like hobby related things. Not a lot of feelings. I don't really share a ton of memes on Facebook. Instagram, I don't utilize as well, like as much as I should. So it's just photos from events most of the time. I'm a pretty few and far between poster. And my Instagram stories are usually secondary. Like my first impulse is to put something on Snapchat, and then if I like look really good, or if I'm at like a really like fun place, I'm like, oh, I should also put this on Instagram. And so I'll do that. On Twitter, I don't necessarily put on like a happy face all the time. And then what else? Oh, Tumblr, that's anonymous. Like my name's not attached to that at all. So I can post there during real sad girl hours. And
that's all the time.
No, that's from like 11 to like 5. Like it's in the night. I mean, there's really no boundaries on sad girl hours, but those are like the legitimate ones.
Yeah, no, I'd say Twitter and Tumblr are my least, like, I guess if I were to say that those are my most authentic selves. I do try and find, like, I try to make myself a little bit funnier, I guess, like try and post only like my funny thoughts to Twitter. Tumblr is just kind of like a free-for-all. Yeah. And I found myself even lately, like so lately in the past like year or two, I don't really do any more text posts that much on Tumblr. Oh, I will start to, really used to be like a diary for me almost. Like I would just post about what happened in the day. I would post what was frustrating me, all of the stuff. And then over time, it just became like I just would reblog a lot more things rather than post a lot of things myself. And now I will start to post something that frustrated me about work, or like something about my family or anything, and I'll start typing it out. Before I hit post, I'm kind of like, you know what? That's okay. I don't need to post this. And I just delete it. And I think I just got like, it was like a cathartic effect of just typing it out. Oh, there's some good stuff on dating and social media and relationships in social media, like you are already in one. So there was this one article, and it was on dating and relationships as experienced through social media. And it was Journal of Communication, and it kind of explored how adolescents use social media within their romantic relationships. It was conducted in Belgium, and they had 11 focus group conversations among like almost 60 adolescents, I think. And they were aged between 15 to 18. I'm pretty sure, I want to say that this study only looked at Facebook because the couple studies that I looked at regarding relationships and social media, no surprise to me at least that social networking sites played an important role in relational information seeking. So basically
That's
pictures
what I'm
and
saying.
yeah. So pictures and status updates were the most important source of information regarding a potential romantic partner.
Yeah, like if you have a Rick and Morty profile picture.
Then that's a big no. Sorry to Rick and Morty fans.
I like that shit. Like, I hate to say that out loud, but I've watched enough of it where I think it's funny. And I don't want to be associated with that. Also, your profile picture should be of your
It's not
face.
your brand.
It's not my brand. But your profile picture should be of your face. That's my stance. Anyway, continue with your research. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So another thing was that it recognized the potential of social media to elicit jealousy and as a means to control a partner, like with sharing passwords for their profiles and stuff like that, as well as like monitoring what they post on their profile. I thought that was interesting because that's definitely been a problem that I haven't really experienced, but my friends and other people that I know have experienced. Just about like, they're like, oh, like and it comes from like not even in social media either, things that they can do and wear and things like that. They're like, oh, they don't really like it when I like go out to this place like without them, or like they don't like it when I go out and drink without them or wear this type of stuff. Gross. No, bad. I don't like that at all. And so that extends into, you know, the internet and social media with monitoring their profiles and not liking them posting certain things.
That would not fly.
So that's frustrating. And then also in this study, it found that they did not consider being Facebook official.
Okay, I want to talk
You
about
had some
that.
feelings on.
Yeah, okay. So 13-year-old Claire, who I've referenced a lot today because Facebook is very 24-year-old Claire can't let it go. So when I was 14 and I was dating Jaime, as referenced a couple times in that All My Friends Are Married episode, he was my 8th grade boyfriend, and I had a Facebook, and he didn't. And at that point in time, it was such a status symbol to put in a relationship on Facebook. But he didn't have a Facebook, so I couldn't do it. And I, like, missed out on that. And so today, like, I still have this, like, strong desire to be in a Facebook official relationship. And, like, if I ever get in, like, an established, like, legitimate relationship with somebody, I'm gonna make them be Facebook official because like I know it's stupid, but it's important to like my inner middle school. It's so important. Like I because like nobody cares, nobody pays attention, but that's like public and that matters to me.
That cracks me up because I feel like I'm the opposite. I feel like I'm going to be married and it's still going to say I'm single on Facebook.
That's
just
probably
because
fair. That's probably
because I don't
fair.
like, and it's really only because I just, Facebook specifically, I do not keep up with as much. But I feel like I'm also not going to be, this is all purely hypothetical. I have no idea how it's a serious relationship because I've never been in a serious relationship, but I definitely don't feel like I'm going to be someone who posts about it a lot.
Well, I was going to ask, have you ever / when do you think it's appropriate to post a photo with somebody you're romantically involved with?
I feel like if they kind of just happen to be in the picture, like if you're out like doing things or like you're at an event or you're doing something fun or something like that, or you like spent the day together and you have a really cute picture and you were going to post it anyways, like man crush Mondays and women crush Wednesdays and like doing that all the time. And I don't know, stuff like that. I just don't see me as like doing that.
I would never. I guess what I'm asking though is like, when do you think appropriate to premiere your
like the first post.
yeah. Like when are you like, when is that appropriate? At what point?
I don't know. You can post something with someone without them being close to you, like without you being in a relationship, and you can be like,
people know.
I don't know. I like with that, like with you explicitly being like, this is my boyfriend.
When I was seeing football, I like had a thought about like the intro post because I thought we were going to get there. And we took these really cute pictures at my work party. But then things went to shit, so I never got to post those. But I
just don't think about having an intro post, if that makes sense. Like if I were to be in a relationship, I feel like he'd just be there suddenly.
That's so much better.
I would be by myself, and then suddenly sometimes he would be there, and then people would just be like, oh, I guess that's maybe someone she might be seeing.
I did not think I would think about it, but when it was like, when I
Potentially
thought it
happening.
was on the horizon, I was thinking about it. So evidently I care. And I think again that goes to the publicly acknowledging that you're involved thing, because I think I've been in not a rut, but my last few whatchamacallits have been not secret, but definitely not like out.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with football, he like never told his family. Like I don't think he ever told his family that we went out. Which is like,
yeah, and that's I can understand that too, because I don't like it when I feel not that they're like ashamed of me, but like they don't want to be like super official and seen with me and like all this stuff. Like it's just frustrating. So I can understand that playing a role in that as well.
And then like my last ongoing whatever you want to call it was with T-shirt, and that was like a secret. Like that was like not something that.
Well, you had work reasons for that being a secret.
That's a whole lot more complicated situation that
was a lover's tryst.
It wasn't even. It was. I don't even know how to articulate what I'm trying to say. The point is something that we were gonna like post pictures about, but like I think that it is more important to me than I would like to acknowledge to be publicly recognized as a couple. And so I think that is why the Facebook relationship status Insta post I think about, and I think they matter to me because it has a lot to do with not being secret and not being ashamed of like, or like not like embarrassed, because like I think if I posted a picture with T-shirt I would be embarrassed. I would feel the need that I needed to like defend my choices to people. And then like with football I felt like he was like ashamed of me, which I don't think he was. That's like kind of how I like was
interpreting it.
Yeah, like I really don't think he was. I think he had his own insecurities going on. I think there was more going on. I don't think it was me, but still, you can't help but be like, well, why are you telling people? We've been pretty heavily involved for like months, you know? So it matters more to me. That would have an impact on my relationship, especially if I had asked somebody or something and I was like, hey, can we make this Facebook official? And they were like, oh, nah, I don't really care. Like that would, it's important to me. So like
if you cared about me and it's not a big deal to you, then you should just do it.
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's my stance on that. I care more than I would like to admit, which is just generally how I am.
All right. Well, another thing that I was able to look up regarding social networking sites and romantic relationships was this site that, or I keep saying site. I'm so focused on like sites and posting rather than like article. Was this article that was titled Social Networking Sites in Romantic Relationships, Attachment, Uncertainty, and Partner Surveillance on Facebook. And it was published in the Cyber Psychology, Behavior, and Social Journal. And it was basically talking about how social networking sites serve as both a source of information and a source of tension between romantic partners. And I was kind of like, you don't say. Men's. But they basically conducted a survey of 328 college students from a large Midwestern university. And they examined 2 potential explanatory variables for interpersonal electronic surveillance of and the 2 possible variables were attachment style and relational uncertainty. And so uncertainty is basically perceptions of ambiguity within the relationship, such as not.
I hate ambiguity so
much. So basically not knowing if the partner is serious or if the relationship there's like a future to it or anything like that. So just basically kind of being ambiguous about it. For the part, the attachment theory is basically saying that relationships you experience with primary caregivers during infancy will kind of shape how your relationships unfold across your life. So they discussed 4 different attachment styles among young adults, and that was secure, preoccupied, dismissing, and fearful. So those four explained. The secure individuals, they are comfortable with themselves and their partners. They have a high regard for themselves and their partners and view themselves as being worthy of relationships. Wonder what that's like. Preoccupied individuals tend to elevate their partner because they feel like they're inferior and not, they're kind of insecure. So they might attempt to control the relationship a little bit more because of their own insecurities. Dismissing individuals, they're kind of the opposite of preoccupied individuals. So they have a high view of themselves, but a more negative view of everyone else. They have, yeah, so they have a low anxiety with regards to relationships, and they're a little bit more independent because they're kind of like, you know what, I'm the shit. I'm pretty good myself. And then fearful individuals, they are uncomfortable in close relationships because they worry about being hurt by other people, and they have high anxiety and lack assertiveness.
Oh, wait, no, that's... Well, until you said lack assertiveness, I was like, oh, that's me, but I'm assertive.
And so essentially this study found that the attachment theory, so all of those four different groups, that is a good framework for understanding interpersonal electronic surveillance between a romantic partners rather than, so yeah, it interests me because I thought that the relational uncertainty would play a part, but they're like, nah, there really wasn't any correlation between those two, or there wasn't anything that would show that would be a good indicator of how much they survey other people's media. And so the study basically found that the more relationship anxiety there is with essentially preoccupied or fearful individuals, the more they check me. And this is bad because
it's cyclical, is it not? It feeds in.
Essentially. So it's bad because they serve to they could exacerbate their anxiety, and they can interpret ambiguous content on Facebook and social media in a negative way, and it just creates more problems and kind of just builds up on them. And so it just makes more strains on their relationship the more that they surveillance their partner's profile. Yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting. And I think I'm definitely more of a preoccupied individual. And
really,
yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just really insecure.
That's the one I relate to the least. I think the fearful was very much identified with until you said not assertive, because I'm very assertive, to a fault. It's a problem sometimes, but I'm totally down because I don't want somebody else to shut it down.
Yeah, no, you're an interesting combination of fearful individual and dismissing individual.
Yeah.
So I guess that means that you won't, you'll only half kind of check.
I guess that means
you'll
half won't be successful in a relationship.
No, I was gonna say you won't survey your partner's Facebook often. You'll half do it.
That I think is accurate. I have the desire to creep on people's social media, but I have the willpower to not. I want to, and I have to forcibly stop myself. I have to shame myself with my search history on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I shame myself.
Don't look it up. It'll come up in your search history, and then you'll know you looked him up. You'll know you looked him up 3 times. Do it. That's bad for your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I still look occasionally. I'll still look up study abroad, and I told you about how I looked him up over, what was it, New Year's or something?
Yeah.
Around when I found out that, I was like, oh, he's engaged. And I accidentally liked her picture of them getting engaged.
Oh,
and I don't follow either of them. I don't follow Study Abroad. I don't follow his new fiance. And I wanted to die. I wanted to crawl into a hole of shame and embarrassment. And then I immediately was flooded with embarrassment. But then at the same time, I was kind of like, who cares? What does it matter?
Yeah.
They don't really think about me that much. That was kind of weird. And then they never thought about it again. So that's what I told myself to get over it.
No, that's true. The truth of the matter is nobody cares as much as you think they do.
Mm-hmm.
About anything.
I care so much, and I have to tell myself no one else cares as much as I do about things. I'm a very anxious individual about some things, and I get myself into such a flurry of emotion, and I have to tell myself it's very low stakes most of the time, and I need to chill out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think this is good of a place as any to wrap things up. We've been talking for quite a while today.
I know. We talked so much.
Our takeaways for this week's episode: don't add somebody on Twitter 2 years after you went on one date and then they didn't add you on anything else. That's our first takeaway. And then Sarah.
That's very widely applicable.
Yeah, everybody, like, it's a true thing for everybody. Like, that's a rule. Do that.
Don't stalk people on Instagram and then accidentally like their photo years later after you stop talking.
Yeah, so if you're gonna like stalk somebody on Instagram, get your friend
be
to
smart
look them
about
up
it
on their account.
Also, be chill. That's I think I think that's a good message that we kind of it ended up coming down to with regards to us caring about what we post, caring about who sees what we post, caring about ambiguous things, interpreting things, anything really with social media. It's no one cares as much as you do, and you just need to be chill about it.
Or do the best you can.
Do best you can.
Okay.
And post that hair pic if your hair looks good.
If you want to see our good-looking hair pics, you can follow us at thelonelysluts. We also have a Twitter, which is at thelonelysluts. And if you have any anecdotes, questions, comments, stories, just suggestions,
advice for us as people,
anything. Our DMs are open on both of those. We have a Gmail, which is thelonelysluts@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk at you again soon.
Bye. I hate me.